Hey, welcome to episode 1 of the How Not to Kill Yourself web series. How Not to Kill Yourself is self-help for the self-destructive. This episode, we're dealing with dating apps and so-called hookup culture. So, one thing that we want to talk about is in the news. There's a new Yeezy dating app that's being developed by a Kanye West super fan. This app is supposedly for folks who are obsessed with Kanye West so that they can find each other and hopefully date each other. Whether you think it's serious or not, it's definitely interesting to have a good foundation of common interests before you start dating. But I am curious for the developer of this app, this guy who's like so diehard Kanye, like what does he think this app is going to give that other apps don't have?
Pussy now, shit. You done went all porno on a nigga, okay? And I love it. And I thank you. My dick thanks you. How'd you learn? How did your pussy game come up? Easy taught me. I was fucking parts of your pussy I've never fucked before.
So I was just joking, but I mean, maybe that's what he was thinking when he developed this app. But let's delve a little bit more into hookup culture and why I really don't think it works, especially when you use these dating apps. If you think about the relationships that you hold most dear, they're your best friend since you were a kid or middle school or high school, your family members. Some of us form relationships or close friendships with people that we work with or people that we meet in college. But all of these have one thing in common. It's a choice. It's not hopefully overtly deliberate. And you just kind of vibe with somebody, or you have common interests, or you have similar personality traits. With hookup culture, you're basically uploading your picture and then told to look at other people's pictures, which may or may not look like them. Your picture may or may not look like you. And my favorite is when someone uploads a picture of their dog. My second favorite is when someone uploads a group photo, and now I have to figure out which one of those fuckers is you. That aside, let's think about some examples of pop culture where we see hookup culture not doing so well. But before we do that, let's think about how it's marketed. I have an interview that I want to show you guys with an unsuspecting guest that's gonna give her take. For joining us today.
Absolutely.
Can you tell everyone your name?
I'm Hazel.
So today's episode is about Tinder, hoe phases, and Hoetations. And you don't have I prepped you on any other questions?
No, not at all.
Okay, so a couple of apps that I have signed up for in the past include Tinder.
Uh-huh.
Have you used any dating apps?
Yes, I have used Tinder. I have used OkCupid as well.
Okay. Are you familiar with Bumble?
I am not very familiar. I've seen the ads, but not too familiar with it.
So one of the female founders of Tinder started Bumble, and it's blowing up because it lets the woman like basically dictate how the dating goes. So she branched out into a business version of Bumble, so you can meet like, you know, business associates, even friends. So if we met on Bumble as friends and then we decided to meet in a coffee shop, would you give me your social security number?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
I wouldn't give my social security number out to my mother if she didn't already have it.
Okay, but why?
It's just, for security purposes, you're always told to protect your identity, and so that follows suit. So I tend to not give any pertinent information out whatsoever, especially to someone that I just met.
What about your bank information?
Would I give that to someone that I just met?
Yeah, like if we met on Bumble as friends or business associates.
Nope.
No? What about private health information?
None of that.
Family secrets?
Nope.
So all that stuff is what?
It's sacred. It's private.
Okay.
It's mine.
So you said private. And so when we're like in kindergarten or preschool, we're told, not to let anyone touch our private parts. Right.
Yeah.
But folks that are like looking for a hookup, no judgment. But if you're looking for a hookup and you go on one of these dating apps, you typically meet once or twice and you give away your private parts.
Some people definitely do.
So it's funny because it sounds ridiculous for us to have a casual meeting and you to give me like all this private information or sacred information, but we've normalized meeting like once or twice and hooking up, which basically is essentially giving away your private parts. So what do you think about that?
I think that it definitely happens a lot more with our culture and our generation.
Mm-hmm.
Do I partake in it? Not necessarily. Have I? I have, honestly. In the past, I did have a one-night stand, but I'm not one to just, go on there, and I'm not looking for that per se. I'd rather have relationship, something to build off of, and definitely after 1 or 2 dates. But I do think that our generation is very touch and go.
Yeah. Well, to your point, like, we've all had a hookup or two. I think the issue we're trying to delve into here is that we're all self-destructive in different ways.
Oh, yeah.
This particular episode deals with the hookup and the hookup culture and how it's pushed on us in a number of ways. So we're going to have other topics that we cover. This is our first episode, so thank you for joining us.
Yes.
And we're gonna dig into some of what we just talked about. So that was interesting because she thought it was absolutely ridiculous that you would meet someone casually and share things like your social security number, your bank account, medical records, family history. But isn't that what the app is basically asking you to do? Share something that we consider private or sacred with someone that you maybe met once or twice after viewing their pictures. That's basically how these dating apps and hookup culture works. So we think it's ridiculous to share these things that we think are sacred, but why wouldn't we consider our genitals or our sexuality or the intimacy of sex sacred? One of the shows that I really cannot wait for the next season to begin is Insecure. I won't give away any real spoilers, but maybe you shouldn't listen to this if you haven't watched season 2. But in season 2, Issa Rae's character has some romantic issues and ends a long-term relationship. And so she goes through a whole phase. And her best friend on the show, Molly, just can't wait. She's been waiting for years for this to happen. And shout out to Molly because she's the only one on the show who really has the whole thing down. Like, meaning she just will meet a stranger and hook up with them. But even Molly, Issa, Issa's ex, all the people on the show, guess who they end up sleeping with? People they already are comfortable with. An ex from high school, an ex from high school, a friend that you grew up with, a coworker, the local bank teller. These are the people that they end up hooking up with. So it just goes back to the point that meeting a stranger and trying to create something intimate just doesn't work. But wanting to end on a high note, so what's the lesson from today? Whether you're 15 or 50, if you have people around you that are encouraging you to hook up, or you're newly divorced maybe, pause. Just pause. Think about it. Observe the folks that are doing what they're telling you to do and see how their life is turning out. With hookup culture, where are we now? We have a lot of folks who are not happy, do not have close relationships. A lot of our family structures are weakened. And people struggle with dating even more so, I think, than previously. And even more confusing, you have everyone from your teachers to your parents to your local pharmacist, sometimes even your church, telling you, hey, just have safe sex. Here's a condom. As long as you have a condom and maybe birth control, sometimes spermicide, oh, don't forget Plan B, it's totally safe. But it's not taking into account your physical, emotional, mental, and dare I say, spiritual health. Sex is an energy exchange, a sacred energy exchange. And we really need to take it seriously. Whether you're male or female, you really have to take into account what it is you're giving away, and does it even make sense? So again, this is episode 1 of How Not to Kill Yourself, Take Care of Yourself. And before I end, this is something we're going to talk about at the end of every episode. Have you taken a shit today? It's very important that you have regular bowel movements. You should at least have one bowel movement for every meal. And if not, we're going to talk about that in later episodes. If you did, pat yourself on the back if you took a shit today. If it didn't smell great, we're going to talk about that in the next episode.
Explode, my thoughts were drunken from courts of beers. Was years back before Nasir would explore career in rap. As a music dude, I mastered the